Okay. Okay. I think live streaming. Yeah, it has started. Yesterday there was some issue. So we will go to the 8th verse. Before that, there was a bit of discussion about the 7th sutra. Some questions were raised. So I'll try to briefly touch upon some of these before I go to the next sutra. Sariram Havihi. This is the next sutra. You see, this whole science of Varnamatrikas, the small blog which I shared, I'm not very sure. There are a few errors also in that blog. I just thought that this is something which is put together at one place. There is no academic reference to some of the things he has mentioned. And also a few errors are there. Like the Chav Varga is repeated. See, Gyanendriyas are actually the Karmendriyas and Gyanendriyas. You can look at it. There is a bit of misunderstanding as to which Varga is representing what set of Indriyas. So, having left that behind, like for example, the Vargas, as we had discussed, if I can sort of go back quickly, that the Ka Varga, Ka Kha Ga Gha Ga, they are representing, you see, you have this O, I, U, Ru, Ru, and then each one is having these 5 letters each. So this is Vija and that is Yoni, and then these Ka Kha Ga Gha Ga are representing Pancha Tattvas. And what are these Tattvas? These are the Pancha Bhutas. And Chavarga is the Pancha Tanmatras, as explained yesterday. Tavarga is Karmendriyas, and Tavarga is Gyanendriyas, and Pavarga is Mana, Ahankara, Buddhi, Prakriti, Purusha. These are the 5. And Yaralava, the Yavarga is Raga, Vidya, Kala, Maya. And the Ushma, Sha, Sha, Sa, Ha, the Sha Varga is Mahamaya, Sudha Vidya, Ishvara, Sadashiva. And then finally Ksha is Sakti and Swaravarna is Shiva. There are multiple ways in which multiple commentators have commented on this aspect. The whole purpose of understanding this whole science of Matrikas is essentially to understand this is Saktopaya, and the sadhana is not pure meditation but with the help of mantras. And therefore, the science of mantras are being discussed here. And these, Lord Shiva has these 5 energies: Chit Sakti, Ananda Sakti, Ichha Sakti, Jnana Sakti, and Kriya Sakti. And these are these circles of energies or waves or whatever way you want to look at it. They are not different from Shiva and they are not outside of Shiva. Nor is the Sakti outside of and separate from Lord Shiva. Everything is one pure consciousness. But the duality, as we have discussed even earlier, it's like from the ocean, waves are emerging and they are attaining some divisive appearance. Similarly, these are like ripples. All these things that we are talking about are kind of emerging out of the same pure consciousness. One field of pure unified consciousness, giving rise to apparent divisions. Now, at our level, we see everything as divided because we are trapped in a materially objective world, and there is a cognitive reality, there is a subjective reality. The pure subjective reality is that Chaitanya Satta, or that pure consciousness, and that is the real nature of us. So in order to attain, unify, and re-ascend to that, and how did we descend? Because of our identification with what is visible to our eyes, whatever we can deal with the help of our senses, sense organs, and the karmendriyas, and etc., etc. Now they are saying this whole universe of duality, this whole universe of dynamism and activity and processes can be captured through meditations with the help of mantras, but there is a secret science. So this the Anuttara Paravak, is represented by and then at the end, her, which is the in the Anahata, the her represents Shakti. Then you have Aham. So end of the day, what do you have? That Anushmara Makara. So Aham. Within this, everything is engulfed and captured. Now, the Varnamatrikas we are not reading, the details are there. The details are given by different schools of thought and commentators and different ways. And these great details sometimes can take our attention away from the main purpose of getting into these details. The purpose of getting into these details, in fact, is to realize how to reunite with our Swarupa through this process of meditation. That is the key thing. And the details are there. The details are always there. So you have Vachya, Vachaka Sambandha. Vachaka are these Varnas through which you are doing meditation. And these Tattvas, then this whole world, the material, the world of full of diversity and duality, which engulfs you, which surprises you, and you are confounded. You do not know where you are, what you are doing. Is saying that through meditation, we can again reascend. So, in this particular commentary, and when we were doing the Siva Sutra Vimarshani, if you remember, we said that even these five levels that he mentioned, that it starts with Hakara, that is in the Hridaya, then you have Nada, the throat, and then you have the Agnya Chakra going up, right? So, and then finally you have Brahmarandra. So there are different ways, same thing through different ways is being, and because he's quoting from different sources, the commentator Siva Sutra Vimarshini in Jaidev Singh, who has summarized, he's taking that Siva Sutra Vimarshini. He has translated also part of it. I have shared the book with you for you to look at it. So this whole thing, in a way, the details are there, that how the l and r, Chubda and Akshubda, E and E, Icha and Ishana, Unmesha and Unnata, all these we have discussed the details. The details are there for meditation, but the detailed knowledge not necessarily elevates us until we keep in mind the main purpose of knowing about all these Varnamatrikas. Okay, so there is a signs of it, and you can look at the translation. It's easy. That is the best translation to my mind by the Jaidev Singh thing. It's a little technical, but I think that is the best translation for you if you want to read something in English. Of course, you can look at the Lakshman Ju's book also, where also he has sort of tried to philosophically, meditate on all this. So, end of the day, starting with the heart center, then Nada, the throat, and the Paramapada, that is between the Agnya Chakra, between these eyes, and then Brahmarandra, ultimately. Then you're going there and you're trying to meditate on that. Starting, and then that he talks about that Ksha, right? That is Kuta Vija, starting with Ka till Sha. So these are all details, okay? These are all details they are mentioned. But the main secret of it is that unless the Guru tells you that Varnas between A and Ha with Anushmara, this whole universe is captured within these Manamatrikas. And that mantras are starting with A and ending with Ma, that Aham. And there are different levels. You have A, which is Shiva, pure Chaitanya. And then you have Ha, which is Shakti, okay? And then you have, the next sattva is what? You have Sadasiva, Aham Idam, that is the level. Aham Idam means I am all this. You remember? Sariram Vishwam, Vishwam Sariram. Earlier we had also done it in the Bhairava Upaya in the first chapter. So here what happens is that Idam Aham. Aham Idam, that is the first level. That is in Sadasiva. Then Idam Aham. There's a bit of, there was a question by Sanaji yesterday. Idam Aham means the identification is with Idam, thisness. I am this is me. That means, you see, that becomes less important. Your consciousness becomes less important. What becomes important is, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a husband, I'm a wife. So you are identifying with this. This is me. A slightly higher level, I am this. That means you are aware of yourself and how you are manifested in different ways. Next one is that, that level is called Ishvara. So you have a Shiva and a Shakti, then Sadasiva, where he says Aham Idam. And then below what? You have Idam Aham. This is me. And that is Ishvara. And then below what? Suddha Vidya. Idam Aham, Aham Idam. Complete identification with the external or the subjective, something which is separate from you, and you are deeply identifying that tadatmya, that superimposition happens. That means it's Veda and Abheda, but Suddha Vidya. Up till that level. Below that, everything is, then you have Suddha Suddha and then Asuddha going below. So these are the 5 levels. Then when, the game of Maya comes, then everything gets veiled. These Shaktis will become veiling power. Okay, because everywhere you are still having that I consciousness. So how that I consciousness kind of degenerates through the manifestation, and you have to recover that I consciousness by dissociating that I consciousness from all entrapments through this mantra sadhana and having the signs of Varna Matrikas. That is what is mentioning, and that is what makes it very, very interesting. Okay, so, and the details we have already done it. So, uh, I mean, if you want, I can share this. Give me 1 second. I'll immediately share this page so that will be easy for you to. Give me 1 second. So, where is it? Oh, window, because that's a different window. No, I cannot say. So I have to. No, I'll not be able to do it. I'll see. It's not going to happen here because that's a PDF file. I have to create it in a web version, then only can I share. So, anyways, so that is how it happens, and that is how the purpose of this whole matrikas, Varna matrikas, ultimately to reunite with that particular thing. That then, as I was telling, that paravak, and then you have Pashyanti, then you have Madhyama, and then you have Vaikhari. If you look at Bhartrihari, he is not talking about Paravak. It's only Kashmiri Saivism takes into another level. So you have at Paravak, as I was telling, that there is no sound, but what is most important is there is only pure consciousness. Pure consciousness without trying to describe anything, because there is nothing outside of the consciousness. You remember when we were discussing the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we had discussed about this Savitarka, Nirvitarka Samadhi, Savichara, Nirvichara, and finally what did we discuss? There is a Nirudha Samadhi, Sampragyata and Asampragyata. In Asampragyata, you are not even aware that you are aware. That pure awareness is there. Similarly, in Paravak, there is only pure awareness, and that pure awareness is not aware of anything. It's just there. That awareness is there, that effulgent luminous consciousness is there. And then you see that Shakti comes in. Why? It becomes self-aware. It has pure subjectivity becomes subjectivity with a referent, with an intentionality. So then there is a devolution to the cognitive level. So that Pashyanti, there will be some, it is aware of itself and that it exists, and then it will relate to something. Then it wants to conceptualize it. Then that Madhyama, then it has the movement towards Buddhi. Then you're using the words, the Panamatrikas in your mind and Madhyama. And then ultimately, when you say Vaikhari, it is manifesting in a material form through sound with these varnas. But the process, the transition from pure consciousness without an outside, where it is all pervading, to when it becomes a consciousness and manifests in word, there are these 4 levels. So you have this that is also Spara Vak, and then a Pashyanti, and then Madhyama and Vaikari. So all these together, it's a very mystical, um, very complex, but the purpose of all this, they are hammering on one point essentially. For meditation, the details have to be read, but the main purpose of all this is that when we perfect these manamatrikas and we look at this whole world and we do mantra sadhana, then we are actually no more. Remember, earlier we have already talked that this mantra sadhana is not for these minor siddhis, because they are also entrapments. The purpose is, in fact, to recover our pure nature, our pure consciousness. And when we go there with the full knowledge of these Varnamatrikas, that means you are abstracting the objectivity of the material world in the form of these Varnamatrikas. Then you're conceptualizing, you're abstracting it, you're separating, segregating, and you're elevating your pure consciousness. You're subsuming, observing, transcending, overcoming, going higher or going inward and more and more. When that happens, he introduces the next verse. That verse, that sutra is 2.8, Sariram Havihi. So, in Havi is what? You have this yaga, so you are doing havana, you are doing sacrifices. What do you sacrifice? You sacrifice your own body. Are you going to commit suicide? Are you going to die? No. We have to look at it and what sense that makes. Let's look at the commentary, Sanskrit commentary, and then we'll discuss further on this. So, what he's trying to say is, let's look at the last commentary in the book that I was talking about. Anena prakarena, in this way, mantratmake tejansi sandipte, when actually you are lit up with these meditation on the mantras, sati purva janma sampadakam, punarjanma sampadakam karma bapu. How do we take rebirth? If we have any karma, if we have any desire, we'll come back. Is the karma siddhanta, whether it is Vedanta, or it is Buddhism, or it is Kashmiri Saivism. The main root cause of everything is karma, and the root cause of karma is avidya, or a deluded self-understanding that we exist, that we will do. That is because of tadatmya, with the outside this. Idam aham. And aham idam, that complete obsession with the external world or your internal world, which is simply a little different from a little pervert manifestation of no real manifestation, a delusional acceptance of the I consciousness as something else. Therefore, he's saying, karma bapuhu nishesaha prajwalati iti aha sankaraha sariram havihi. Therefore, Lord Shiva is telling that body itself becomes like purified butter to be sacrificed. Burn it, destroy it. Because through this jnana, when you become self-aware, you are destroying all your karmas. So you are not going to get another body. And that is the supreme sacrifice. Mantra tadatmya rupe jnanagno. When in the jnanagni, what is the fire? Is it real fire where you're going to cremate your body? No, it's not about that. It's jnanagni, the fire of enlightenment, the fire of knowledge, self-awareness. Jnanagno prajwalite sati, when this whole delusional obsession with this physical form, that is sacrificed in the fire of enlightenment, then what happens? Karma bandhanatmakam bhautikam sariram nissesataya pragalitam bhavati. Prakarshanena galitam bhavati. It melts down, it destroys, decomposes, decays, destroys itself. Again, it's not the physical body in real sense of the term, because you are not going to be reborn. It's a metaphoric way of saying that you are sacrificing this body because you are not interested in this body anymore. Asya mantratmaka divya deham asritya asinasya. Now you have lost interest in the physical form, the physical world, because now you are returning to the pure I consciousness. So what is the physical body? What body would you be in? The pure I consciousness, that becomes your body now. There you are established. Samagra Bhava Samuha Jnanagni Sad Karana Rupa Ishtim Prakruvati Jajamanasya. The Jajamana who is doing the sacrifice, he attains that supreme I consciousness, and that is the fire in which he sacrifices these obsessions with lower level consciousness. So we sort of sacrifice these consciousness to establish ourselves in God consciousness or that supreme I consciousness. Maya pramartata pramasanena. We have, as we said, there are I consciousness at a lower level is what? The ahankara. I consciousness supreme level is what? The Siva consciousness. I-ness is there. I'm a man, I'm an Indian, and I'm an American, I'm rich, I'm poor is one level. The other one is I'm a human being looking for liberation. At a higher level, whether you're a human being or you're looking for liberation, Bandha Mukhya both are delusional, as they say. These are all delusional because our Swarupa is pure consciousness. Therefore, who was actually bound that he will be liberated? As one of these guys say that I'm not going to die because I was never born, kind of an expression. Because actually, when the consciousness ceases to identify with the physical form, what do we mean by birth? What do we mean by death? So similarly, he's saying Maya Pramatrita Pramasanena. So when there is this whole I consciousness in relation to our obsession with our human subjectivity, our human form, our human relations, with all these. The cobweb of relations in which we describe ourselves, when we get rid of that, it subsides. When that sort of an identification subsides, then what happens? Ahang bhava. So then what happens? You have that paravirya rupa. So that ultimate energy of your consciousness, paravirya is saying what is not about semen here. Paravirya rupa mantra sarire aishwarya. So then you have the wealth of the mantric sarira, because you are doing a lot of sadhana at a very higher level of subjectivity, you're being able to establish. Before we are in pure God consciousness, we are going to ascend the staircase of different levels of sadhana and different levels of consciousness. Like in Yoga Sutras, we did about this Savitarka, Nirvitarka Samadhi, Savichara, Nirvichara Samadhi. Similarly, we'll go forward to different levels of consciousness, and there is more and more subtlety, more and more purification. And there was a question yesterday about this, right? The Shiva is gross. No, it's not about, and Shakti is subtlety. No, it's not like that. That supreme consciousness is the subtlest. We identify, now remember, what is creation? That pure, subtle, ineffable, pure consciousness, through a process of identification with these different intermediate levels and the lower levels, is kind of appearing as diverse. It has manifested in the samsara. And then we are suddenly that pure Shiva consciousness, we feel trapped in here, in this whole network of relations and goals and activities and everything. Because of our identification with this gross material world, through this mantra sadhana, we are trying to make a turnaround in our mental process. First, we'll return to our mental thing. We are doing this satsang, we're doing meditation, and this whole process of transformation starts. And it takes a long time, but it happens. And when that happens, because here is not like Vedanta, it's only philosophy. That was there in the first chapter. Second chapter, there is some sadhana. And this mantra sadhanas and meditations, the consciousness slowly becomes purer and purer, becomes subtler and subtler. And what is the process of becoming subtler and subtler? Removing chains, dissociating from different levels of identification. And then we are going higher up and up with this. And by understanding this Matrika chakras, we have already perfected, that is the presumption. He's saying Sariram Havihi. Then what happens is saying Sarira Bandhana Karana Rupasya. What is that? Karma Malasya. There is something called karmic mala. What we have this avidya in Vedanta, they use this word here, mala. Mala is impurity. And they say in Kashmiri Saivism that actually the buddhi mala can be removed, but the karmic mala cannot be actually fully removed. And that's one of the reasons they believe that so far you have this body, which is a product of that impurity, you cannot call yourself fully liberated. This is a process. This is a process of approximation, but you can never call yourself completely liberated being in this body. Never be surprised if this body ditches you, if this body pulls you down. You remember earlier that we discussed that you may fail, you may get distracted, but the sadhaka returns to his path again and again. There's nothing to worry. The idea is to return and restart the journey and move forward inwards. तो विनाशो भवति अर्थात अनंतरम दिव्य देहस्य आश्रयणम करोति. Divya deha, that divya sarira means is not the physical psychological mind. Like in Vedanta we have this panchakosha atita, we have this annamaya kosha, the physical being, then you have the pranamaya kosha, the dynamic vital being, then you have the manomaya kosha, the psychological thing, and you have the vijnanamaya kosha, the cognitive self, the intellectual being, and finally anandamaya kosha. But the self is beyond all that. Similarly, he's saying slowly you have the Dibya Sarira, but ultimately Sariram Havihi. Lower level identification we have to sacrifice. That is very important. Ayamevo Parodeha Vartate. Siddhatmana Vivoho Yajamana Surupasya. Then what do? You are a Yajamana, you are doing that whole yajna. You are actually establishing yourself in that Dibya Sadoditam, Sadauditam, Mahayagno, Mahati Agno. What is that Mahat Agni? That Mahat Agni is the fire of enlightenment. So he's saying that you would be established in that highest level. That is how he's saying Sariram Havihi. And we would look a little about how Kshemaraja is making interpretations. And this is very interesting. All that he's saying is again and again that Idrisasya Asya Matrika Chakra Sambodhavatah, the person who understood this Matrika Chakra and did his mantra sadhanas and then understood. You see, there are so many books because you asked a few questions and I was looking for it. There are at least 10, 15 books that are written. And now I know there's a Canadian professor who lived in Rishikesh and he was working with my Acharya to work on these Bhana Matrikas, and he has authored already a 3-volume, mega volumes. He's going to bring out 5 volumes. He's saying that we Westerners don't even understand. We're using language, but we don't know that this whole world is full of energy and there is mysterious meaning behind all letters. So he wrote a big one. That is his PhD thesis submitted in one of the, I think, Toronto or York, I don't know. But 2 volumes have already come out. And if you want, I can share the link if you want to buy that big 5 volumes. So there's a lot of research going on and from different perspectives, and different commentators have commented on it from their own perspectives, that the purpose is mainly one thing. How do we make use of the mantras and this whole science of mantras and alphabets to meditate on the reality at more subtler levels and lift our consciousness? Where physically lift our consciousness? No, we lift it in a way that means we are dissociating ourselves from our entrapments, our entanglements, and our identifications. That is what he's saying. So he's saying the person who has been established, then he's saying sarvaihi yat pramatritvena avisiktam stula sukshmadi swarupam saritam tat mahayoginah. You have Jagrata Avastha, this Sthula Sarira. You are aware of your physical body. When you are in dream, are you making use of your karmendriyas? Nothing. Gyanendriyas, are you listening to any music? The best music, your favorite song, or some Western classical is playing next to you. Are you enjoying it? No, you're asleep. There is no acceptance of the reality through your Gyanendriyas or no engagement through your karmendriyas when you are in Swapnavastha. This only mana is active. And then you go to Susupti, well, mana is also not active. So Sukshma Sarira is active during your dream state. Even Sukshma Sarira, then you are going beyond that in Susupti Dasa. Sthula Sukshma, both the bodies are abandoned. Then you're going to that Susupti Dasa, you have that Karana Sarira. That also is abandoned when you are in that Jivan Mukti or the Samadhi Avastha. That is what he's saying. Sthula Sukshmadi Swarupam Sariram Tat Mahayoginaha Parasmin Chidagno. So, that is Susupti here. What he's saying, that you will sacrifice this Thula and Sukshma Sarira. That means all your engagements in the external reality, where you relate to through your karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, and in the dream state, with through your mostly through your manas, that you are engaging, you're constructing stories, participating in it. You are abandoning all that. Where Parasmin Chidagno, in the pure fire of consciousness, Chidagni. Huyamanam Havihi, then that burns. What is that? This whole body, Stula and Shukshma Sarira. So, and what is that Sarira? He's explaining Sarira Pramartata. Because you are identified with this physical body, that itself has to be sacrificed. Prasamanena, when it subsides. Then he's saying Sadeva, all the time, Chinmatrita Avinivishtvatvad. Then you are established in that pure consciousness. That is your new abode. You don't need this body, this borrowed physical frame. You're already there in that Divyasar. Tadyuktam Vijnana Bhairave Mahasunya Laye Banhu. Mahasunya. This is another way of interpreting the same thing in Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Mahasunya Alaya Asamantat Laya Yasmin. Alaya Vijnana in Buddhism is also the Alaya is that particular domain of nothingness where everything are there in causal form. They are all sacrificed. Mahasunya Laye Banhu. The Alaya word is used in a different sense in Buddhism. Here, that Alaya is that foundation which doesn't have any physical form. Because enlightenment is referred to here as Mahashunya. Because there is no physicality. There is neither subtle physicality nor gross physicality, neither Stula nor Shukshma. There is no materiality because it is without any dimensions. And therefore, what he's saying, Maha Sunyalaye Banhu Bhutakhya Vishayadikam, all that, the physical form, you are looking at it. So, this is a body, this is a house, this is a car, all this, and our consciousness is immediately framing it. There is actually nothing called material reality. If you listen to somebody called Anil Seth, who is a neuroscientist, what does he say? Essentially, the game of neurons, they are constructing a reality. And that is how the brain is all the time eager to preserve the body and it acts upon it. But end of the day, it's acting upon its own construction, isn't it? It constructs a reality. Within that, it operates. And there are so many theories about consciousness. Does the brain actually is 100% active anytime? Am I aware of everything that exists in the world about which I can think? No. I'm only thinking about something. So it's like a lamp post which is moving. Wherever it goes, it lights up that, that area in close proximity. Similarly, whenever we are thinking about anything, that only predominates our consciousness. So in a way, it is not free from limitation. So what he's saying that Mahasunyalaya Bannu Bhutakhya Vishayadikam, everything is sacrificed. Huyate Manasasakam. And how do you do it? It's very interesting. So with your Chaitanya, Manasa, with the help of your mind, you sacrifice it. Sakam, Saho Maha, Srukcha Chetana. And then Sruva, you need that wooden handle in which you can take up ghee and you'll put it. So the ghee is actually, you're sacrificing is your mind. The jumping around mind. It imagines the Manamaya Kosha, the Vijnana, you sacrifice that with the help of your Chaitanya, that is the handle that you're holding, and you sacrifice it. So these are metaphoric ways of essentially trying to help us understand that we are engaging right now through satsang or through meditation or whatever, through mental activities in order to get rid of mental activities, because mental activities, even they are oriented towards reality, are unreal if we keep that pure consciousness or God consciousness as the intended reality. all that we intend and engage with are unreal, are not fulfilling, will not give us awareness about who we are. So there is no fulfillment, there is no real happiness. Therefore, he's saying. So similarly, there are a couple of other books from here he's quoting, and where there's another text he's quoting. The book's name is Timirodghata, and in that book, Timirodghate P, he's saying that what Yah priye yah srihad bandhur yo data yo tivallavaha. So there's somebody is a sweetheart. You are in love with them, and there is somebody who has benefited you, surhud, without somebody who has helped you, a mother, parents, without expecting any returns. And then bandhu, then you have a good friend, comrade. Yo data, somebody who has gifted you something. Yo atiballava, and is very dear to you, any relative. Tadanga bhakshana devi. When you actually feed on their bodies, what do you mean? It's a very cruel way of writing, right? No, no, no. He's trying to say, if you are interested in God consciousness, if we are truly interested in God consciousness, we have to slowly and steadily sacrifice our emotional, even moral attachment to all these people. The person you love most, it could be your daughter, it could be your brother, it could be your husband, it could be your wife, girlfriend, whatever you may say, and somebody who has benefited you, even guru, or all that. These are, remember, they are externalizing your consciousness. Not, of course, they become badhaka and sadhaka depending on how you are looking at them. That is there in Vedanta. So in that satsang, obviously we are talking to each other, right? So the mind is externally oriented. No, but this mind, by being externally oriented, is preparing a platform for meditation on the truth, and therefore can be accepted. You want to get out of the house. The mother says, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to school." "Okay, you are free to go." The boy says, "I want to go and play a cricket match." Mom says, "No, exams are close by." So going out of the house is not prohibited, provided you are fulfilling a higher purpose. Similarly, whatever we're doing, we have to first limit it, restrict it, but ultimately we have to withdraw much of what we think is meaningful. Bhakhyana Devi hi utpadyate ut utpadet gaganangana. So then you are able to establish yourself in pure God consciousness. You will be able to get rid of these entrapments, these distractions. Then if atrahi deha pamatrata pramasanam eva pindarthaha. What is that havi? He's saying nothing. There is nothing called havan. Sariram havihi is just mentioning, saying this is essentially ensuring that our obsession with our body consciousness, our obsession with whatever is associated with what is anitya, which is not going to stick around for a long time, if we are able to see them subside in whichever way we can through these signs that we are learning, that itself is the pindartha. That is what. And then even, for example, even Bhagavad Gita, who we've studied, that sarvendriya karmani, prana karmani chapare, atma sanyama yogagno jufvati jnana deepite. That we have done in Bhagavad Gita, right? So different kinds of yajnas, when we were remembering that fourth chapter, that some people sarvendriya karmani, prana karmani chapare, when you do pranayama, you're withdrawing your mind, and that each activity that you are doing in your everyday life, including food, including your karma, including your upasana, everything is an act of sacrifice. Why? What is a sacrifice? Foregoing something which is immediately pleasant or useful for something which is useful at a higher level. And you have to drop and you have to throw a lot of things to go to the next higher level. And that's what I'm saying. So ultimately, you have to sacrifice everything in Jnanagni, in the fire of enlightenment. And then in Spanda Karika, he says, Yatha Kyovoho Praliyeta Tada Syat Paramam Padam. Tad Vishnuha Paramam Padam. Upanishad says, what is the Paramam Padam? Always is saying, when it happens, when agitation comes to an end. All our minds, if you look at ourselves, how the mind functions, you'll find that we are doing satsang, but here also at the back of our mind, suddenly you may be reminded, oh my God, I have to send an SMS, I have to send out a mail, I have to do this, I have to do that. And there's no end to it. There are always certain things to be done, and beyond that, what? And then do more, study more, have house, car, but there's no end to it. But there should be a moment when we are finding a way to return home. Ghar wapsi. And what is that ghar wapsi? That returning home is essentially returning to your swarupa, to your own pure consciousness. Sometimes these so-called celebrities make interesting statements which have a lot of spiritual significance. Long back, somewhere in some newspaper, some actress was being interviewed who had a broken life. And then she was saying, so how do you handle your life, this, that? She said something which is interesting. I still remember I was a student. And she says, one thing I know, that you have to return home. You have to return to yourself. So you can't run around, go to restaurants and this and that. Where will you go? Because you have to return home, you have to return to yourself. And this is a very spiritual statement. So that's why he's saying, Yada Kshobha Praliyeta Tada Syat Paramam Padam. So this Kshobha is agitation. That you remember that Kshubdha and Akshubdha Avastha, even earlier in the Banamatrikas we studied. Iti Anineva Sangruhitam Kshobha Dehadi Aham Pratyaya Rupaha. What is Kshobha agitation? Dehadi Aham Pratyaya. Instead of looking at Aham as Siva and Shakti and that you are pure consciousness, when we have no idea about this Bandhamatrikas and the science behind it, I am this, I am that. That is what we know. Or this is me, this is what I am. So this Aham Pratyaya, that I am this, and this material world is where I am, and I want to be better and happier and blah blah blah, that is agitation. So if you are able to recover your ahang bhava to a more purer ahang bhava and realize that you have the Shiva and Shakti thing and you want to return there, then that's a near thing. Itihi tad britto bhatta kalataha. So that is what he's saying, that spandakarika and bhatta kalata. So broadly, these points, if you look at them, that all the time the emphasis on this, that to return to God consciousness, to establish ourselves in God consciousness, the main thing that is being emphasized is that I am a knower. There are two ways of defining our knowerness. That pramata, that I am a knower. So I am a knower means I am a knower of something. That is one way to looking at it. The other one is that I'm a knower of what? Knower of myself. And then, you go and at the highest level, that particular thing is just that pure consciousness. It's not a description of who you are with a long set of predicates, but it's just about that aham pratyaya in the purest, subtlest form. That is that pure I consciousness, which is no different from God consciousness. And that is how, with this saktopaya, that you are sort of identifying. So this I consciousness becomes God consciousness when it travels from a lower echelon, a lower level of associations with this whatever visible or invisible material world, or the subjective world in which all the time we are chasing ghosts or fighting ghosts, chasing dreams and fighting ghosts, to go to higher levels of subtlety. And you see, there are sometimes I find very interesting things. There is this little baby I saw in one of these so-called videos in which somebody is interviewing a little girl who is about 3-4 years, and he's saying, so what do you know about love? He's saying, yeah, love is about kindness and this and that. And then finally she says that, yeah, I love myself. And how do you do it? He said, I give myself a hug. Then she is doing like this. This is a powerful metaphor in a spiritual sense for self-awareness, that we are all the time chasing things outside of us, but then returning to ourselves will require a sense of satisfaction not by forcing ourselves to forego things that we are attracted to. That is self torture. But by realizing that the real prosperity, the benefit, the love, whatever that you are experiencing is very much within yourself. When you are returning to yourself, then that sort of elevates you to a very high level. So with that, we'll stop here. We have a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask. It was a shorter sutra. So then tomorrow we will go to the next one, which is again related to this one. So any questions? One or two questions we can entertain. Do you have any questions? Any of you?